Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining in. My name is Nikita Raftani, and I'm the moderator for today's panel discussion. In tough times like these, it is really important for the travel industry to come together as one and show their support to abolish what we feel is a threat to our entire travel industry, TCS, tax collected at source. We appreciate everyone for taking out time to attend today's panel discussion. Let's face it, coronavirus has shaken the hospitality and tourism industry. We don't know for how long will we suffer this virus, but we sure know that we will fight it out. But it would exhaust us to start another battle of convincing our travelers that they need to pay an additional 5% over and above GST to enjoy a holiday, especially when business would be just picking up. There is a battle to be won, and let's join hands and stay united during this time. This panel discussion that we are having today is a sincere attempt to stand united against one common cause: abolish TCS. And since we are doing our bit to fight for this cause, everyone is free to express their opinion. We also want our audience to participate. So I would request everyone in the audience to engage, and if you have an opinion, please feel free to express it by adding it in the comment section on the bottom left of your screen. If you have any specific questions for any speaker, please write down their name followed by the question. You can maximize your media player to view everyone. As this is a video webinar, I would request all of you to close all your other windows. If you're on Wi-Fi or a shared internet, and if you face any viewing difficulties, please refresh your screen. So let's get started. We have 11 eminent speakers, and let's begin by addressing the most crucial question: what is TCS? I would like to call our first speaker, Mr. Pradeep Sabu, to highlight us on this very subject. What is TCS and its impact on the cruise industry? Over to you, Mr. Sabu.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, in the budget of 2020, the finance minister has proposed a additional tax collected at source tax, which the travel agent is supposed to collect from all the travelers that they book for a foreign or an outbound tour. So, this is over and above the 5% GST that we already collect. Tax collected at source will be an advance tax for our customer traveling abroad. We as travel agents, tour operators have the dirty job of collecting this tax from our customers and depositing it with the income tax department on time. 5% additional cost over and above the 5% GST will make it very difficult for us to compete with the companies, online companies or tour companies based abroad and not reporting to Indian authorities. 5% TCS overall has to be collected into every time that we collect a payment. For example, if the customer is total package is 100 rupees and we collect 25 rupees as the first deposit, we are supposed to deposit the 5% of 25 rupees, then the 75 rupees. So we collect another 5% of the 75 rupees. So multiple times for the same passengers, we are supposed to collect the TCS and deposit the TCS with the income tax authorities. This will completely mean another full-time job for maybe one or two accountants, depending on the size of our companies, to do this job and do it on time. Because if we don't do it on time, the onus is ours, and we are supposed to be penalized by interest or penalties or whatever. So we, as the travel trade industry, have to take this up very seriously with the authorities, that this is not our job to collect their tax and deposit on their behalf. And we have to request the government to find another ways of finding the people who need to pay this tax.
Thank you for sharing your feedback, Pradeep. Moving on, we have Jay Bhatia from TAI and Rajat Bagaria from Tuffy. I would like to call upon Jay Bhatia to talk about his initiatives against TCS and TAI's initiatives against TCS.
Thanks, Nikita. And well, TAI has already worked towards it. We've sought clarity from the government in terms of the definitions which are ambiguous in terms of TCS. So firstly, we requested them to withdraw the same and then sought clarity also, because till the time they don't withdraw the TCS, we'll not be in a position to understand what is the actual purpose of having the TCS for to be collected. Now, the ambiguity lies in the definition of the overseas tour package, whether only a hotel is a part of the overseas package or it's a bundled product of hotel, sightseeing, and transfers, etc. So we are really looking at a detailed definition and clarity to that. Further, the LRS, which you call as the liberalized remittance scheme. Now, there is an ambiguity there also, whether it is per person, per family traveling, or it's per corporate, or so that is needs to be detailed clarified, because at one end the government permits you to remit around $250,000, but at the same time they say 7 lakh rupees on an outward remittance for a package needs to be monitored. So there is an ambiguity and clarity that is required from the government to that regard. Further, it says that an authorized dealer is a person who will be levying TCS. Now, an authorized dealer definition also says people who have got an RBI license to make remittance. Now, every travel agent doesn't have that. So it will finally go on to the owners or the FMCC license holder who will be doing that. So we have to seek detailed clarity to that effect. And also, they are exempting HUFs and trusts for taking the payment. Now, in a country like India, where a lot of people are making payments for the foreign travel from HUFs, how can they be exempted? So, every clause of TCS, the definition in the finance bill that has been presented, requires a detailed clarity. In terms of what we have asked the government to do is, please defer this as of now. I mean, withdraw this as of now. Thereafter, work with the associations, and we'll be in a position to guide as to why actually they require to cancel, and reasons for them to collect this, because when we are making remittances anyway, as of today, since last 2 or 3 years, we are collecting the PAN details of all the travelers. So why do they further require all the details? So, these clarities are a must for us to be sought. And on the other part, there is going to be a huge competition for the travel agents out of India, because we are going to compete at the rate of at least 10 to 15% differential rates with overseas vendors. Hotels also, directly with the hotels also, reservations are being made. That's going to be a challenge. With OTAs. Now, global OTAs are there, where we are making hotel bookings online, and we are anyway competing, and we are short of 5% on GST anyways today. So GST also needs to be rationalized. TCS has to be withdrawn on an immediate basis. Otherwise, there will be a no level playing field absolutely for the travel agents.
Thank you, Jay. Appreciate all the efforts taken by TIE, and it is imperative for the travel industry to be informed about the association's initiative. Now, may I request the next speaker, Mr. Rajat Bagaria, to highlight Tuffys initiatives, please?
Hi, thank you. On behalf of Tuffy, the first thing we did was to have a conversation with many consultants to understand the implications of this provision. Different consultants have different views. So we were trying to understand with the worst scenario and the best scenario. And we then tried to have various meetings with the government officials, which was very slow to get through to. Then, through the help of committee members we have in Gujarat, we were able to have a meeting with Mr. Atanu Chakravarti, who is the executive advisor to the PM, and we have been able to give him an idea about the situation. The difficulty being in such a situation that they said that we are late because the finance bill is going to be tabled. We are in a situation where we need to resolve on this very quickly, and with the coronavirus slump, there is overall a negative effect in the market. So we are, after the meeting with Mr. Chakravarti, we are also looking at different situations where we can try to have a public relation network, or even legally, we are trying to look into the aspect of having a stay come onto this TCS. TCS is again basically an advance tax which the government wants. They are trying to take the tax in advance, which they would have got it after the end of a year. So the difficulty being, when the local travel agent tries to sell a package, he will become costlier. Customers will definitely want to go to international suppliers or to portals. MICE will get affected. Overall, at TAFI, we understand that this is going to have a big impact on the total travel trade. We have a majority of in Tuffy JBGA, we have a large number of travel agents who will get affected with this kind of a business. There is also a worry on the total outstandings which we have. So overall, the impact is going to be difficult. So we are looking at contacting into different consultants and trying to get a way to get the TCS rolled back.
Thank you, Rajat. Thank you for sharing your feedback as well. It really matters a lot to all the audience who's listening and all the audience who's present today. I would now like to call upon Param. Being an international tourism board, Param, how do you foresee the effects of TCS on traffic to your destination, and what are your thoughts on the same?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So, as a tourism board, the impact of this TCS is indirect on us. We're not directly in the firing line. The impact comes on our colleagues in the travel trade, the agents, the tour operators who actually do the bookings. But every tourism board is doing things differently, but the bottom line for all of us is the same. And it's a very simple bottom line. We need people to come to our destinations. And if there is a complication which prevents our colleagues in the trade from sending people to our destination, then we are impacted indirectly as well. So it is in our interest as a tourism board to support the agents and try and find a solution to this problem. Now, the way that I see it, and I'm going to say a couple of things which may not go down well with everyone, but I think this government is one that is not going to take very kindly to any movement to scrap something that they have proposed. So what I think needs to be done is that we need to find out the reasons why this government has imposed this tax and try and work. A colleague of mine in SCOL, the association of which I'm also a member, mentioned a couple of days ago that we need to work this from the inside rather than trying to resist it from the outside, because a blanket resistance might be faced with more opposition from the government, and they may find that they're trying to defend it. But if we try and work through the inside, working with the government to try and find a solution, we may be able to get a better result in the end. I am also conscious of the fact that there's a lot of the operators in this country who work with clients on a cash basis. Now, those guys are also facing a problem because they have to do everything related to this tax through official channels, but everything that's coming to them from their customers is coming in cash. So, there are all sorts of implications for travel agents and tour operators because of this tax, and a solution is necessary to be found.
Thank you, Param. Thank you for sharing your feedback. We totally agree with the fact that although tourism boards will not be directly affected, but yes, as an indirect effect to the tourism board, there will be a lot of repercussions that will be faced by the travel industry. So thank you for sharing your feedback on this one. We would now like to call upon Kishan. And my question to you is, how would TCS really impact the cruise industry? By what percentage will the demand shrink with an additional 5% tax increase?
Hi everyone. Probably when you ask me about cruising, all the cruise liners are either based in US, America, the Europe, or into the Southeast Asia. When we look at it, it's completely based on a commission structures where the commissions may vary from 10 to 15%. Now, when we talk about already when the consumer is booking, we all are charging them 5% GST, which is an income to the government. Now, we add up this another 5% at TCS. There is no reason a consumer should come down to a travel agent. Probably he may directly book onto the sites of these cruise liners where the prices are going to be there, where he may not get a little discount, which we pass on 2-3% as a travel agent passes, and the TCS is coming up. So probably his cost buying with the travel agent and buying with the cruise liner remains the same. So as why he will not buy it on a cruise directly on the site of the cruise, as he is not going to pay the GST, he is not going to add up the TCS, which he has to take a refund at a later stage from the government. So probably the government will lose that 5% GST. Second, what an income is being created by a travel agent, where he pays the income tax, it's also not been received by the government. So overall, if you ask me, the TCS will really swing the market. The numbers of passengers going out may not increase because the consumer may buy directly from the cruise liner, but it is the only loss either to the travel agent and to the Indian government. The government will lose the TCS, the GST, the government will lose the income tax earned by the travel agent and he on behalf of paying that income tax to the government. So these are the places where I see the government on the cruising industry will lose a lot of things. Secondly, when you see these structures being not, there will be a lot of unemployment coming down to the travel agencies who are actually based on the cruising industry, where people are employed in a bigger manner. If the sales people are there, if they will have not these jobs and everything, there will be a cut in the employment. I'm sure about it. So government needs to look into this and probably should roll out the TCS. They are already making a good chunk of money into the GST coming up from the travel trade, and the figures are actually huge.
Thank you, Kishan. Due to external factors such as coronavirus, there is a slowdown in the economy. So I would like to ask you one more question, that this will have far-reaching effects. But we all know that this is a temporary setback. How do you think the industry should revive themselves?
See, probably Corona is a bigger issue right now. But probably, if you ask me, it's a temporary issue. The world is never going to get over with this coronavirus. It's a time phase, and probably a month or two, things that. But probably we need to be positive first of all. Second, what we actually need to do, we need to revive. It is all the tourism boards need to come together. The airlines need to come together. We need to do these mega plans. And if somebody asks me, I would rather suggest a particular dates, 3 to 5 days in between, where all the tourism boards invite the travel partners from India, and in a big chunk, we all of them go. And when with this, we have a strong message, everything out here is safe, and we all are live on Facebook and all those things, and put all these messages to, then we will build in the confidence in the consumer. First, let the travel fraternity. Once we are on to that set, and then we bring in that confidence level in the consumers, and that is the way to revive the markets. Yes, the tourism boards and everyone, the countries will have to give them some fantastic offers where it is irresistible to the consumers. And that is the way. And once things start, we keep going.
Thank you, Kishan, for sharing such an amazing idea. Having mega FAMs is a boost to the industry, and what best to charge up the industry with a FAM before they kickstart the business in full swing. Thank you for your opinion, and we would now move on to Mr. Prashant, and I would like to ask Mr. Prashant Pilankar his views on, or maybe you can list a few ambiguities and uncertainties that you can identify with TCS.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Thank you for having me here. As all the eminent speakers spoken, I need not reiterate everything now. All I need to say is we are going through a very, very tough period, and it will take some time for us to emerge from this. And to top it all, we have another bummer on our hands of this TCS. Now, as you asked me to list the ambiguities, first and foremost, I would present our case because as a DMC for Europe, there are various things. I mean, there is a lot of ambiguity about who is going to charge the TCS, either we or the ADs, the authorized dealers. If the ADs are going to charge, if they are charging on the amounts to be remitted, if that's the case, then we are exposing our cost price. So the consumer also is aware of the cost prices. And the other thing is, if when we do the quotations and stuff, we do the FX rates buffer as well to hedge it towards any increase in the LEC. What happens to that? Basically, if we are going to issue a certificate under the section 206, who is going to issue this thing? And is it going to be the same amount what we have charged them, or it is going to be this amount which is charged to us while we are remitting? So looking at that, there is a lot of ambiguity, and I'm sure it is going to creep in a lot of uncertainty amongst the. And speaking about what would be the results, the results would be as it is. We are limping back. We are trying to limp back to the normalcy in our businesses. Everybody, our season is virtually lost. So everybody will be trying to get up with the backs broken, and adding this another hit is not only going to kill us. I kind of agree with Param when he said that we have to work from inside, talking to this thing. What I would do is I would list out the ambiguities which are this thing. First and foremost, as to who is going to charge the TCS, whether it is the seller or it is the ADs or the banks or what have you. The second is what will be the exact amount, because is it going to be on the selling price or it is going to be on the amount which is being remitted to the suppliers and the hotels and stuff. The third thing is this is going to be there are a lot of people. I've been speaking to a lot of people in the fraternity. They were saying that this is like TDS, this thing, but I beg to disagree here, because TDS is going out of your earnings, and here TCS is taking on top of your selling price. So it is not exactly the same thing what TDS is. So that is going to be another hit with the consumer. And I will not go back into the same points which the other eminent speaker spoke, that the other overseas tour operators and travel agents are going to feast on this, and this will result in drop in revenues into our this thing, as it is, as the travel industry is going through a stagflation, where the
can you see my video
going higher
or not?
Day by day. And to add to this, another one, because we are going to have more employees to do all these compliance.
Screen share पे कुछ click करो क्या?
Before this event,
Screen share पे
you
click
have
करो
to be
क्या?
precise with your reporting and stuff. There are a lot of monies which are stuck, and we have seen that with the GSTs as well. So all in all, we need to jot down these points, and we have to put our case towards the government, because even the government will stand to lose when consumer decides to buy their products from overseas.
Thank you, Prashant. Keeping this in mind, can you highlight what will be the major impact to the industry?
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you see coronavirus, although we are saying it's going to be a temporary thing, the effects are going to be long-lasting. I mean, it will take some time by the time we recover out of this situation. And if you add to that then it will be a very, very difficult road ahead. I don't see an end in sight in there. We really have to take this collaborative approach amongst ourselves. Both I'm glad that both Thai and Tuffy are here to discuss this. We'll have to take this collaborative thing. Coming back to what you said was this thing, the unemployment is going to increase lock, stock, and barrel, because there will be definitely a drop of turnover, a huge drop of turnover. We have a very difficult task on our hands to convince our consumer to go out and have a holiday and what have you. When we are saying that we are going to induce sale by traveling along. First, the fraternity travels out, showing the world that there is nothing wrong out in India. Secondly, by inducing sale. Now, inducing sale also, there is a cost, because how do you induce sale? You induce sale by offering discounts, unrealistic discounts to have turnover. Basically, their retentions are going to go down. Your margins are going to go down, so you will be forced to take a drop in your employment.
Point well made. Thanks for the same. We will now move on to our next speaker, Mr. Siddharth Jain. Siddharth is logged in from Delhi, and I would like to ask you, what are your suggestions to the government?
Hi everyone, my name is Siddharth. Government, we as a fraternity have been taking all the policies very positively, whether it is GST or the demonetization. But with the recent TCS tax is too much, the government is asking the travel fraternity. Uh, anyways, our business has come to a standstill with the coronavirus outbreak. But the TCS, which is being implemented, which government is planning to implement from 1st of April, will be a disaster for the federation. I suggest to the government is that they need to first, defer the bill, and the fraternity is wanting the government to for a rollback of this law. They need to set up a research committee and talk to the industry. They need to deep dive and understand the complexity of our billing systems and the impact of the revenue which this fraternity will have to go through. Outbound is one business that all of the travel agents are doing round the year. And what is happening here is that the operational expenses of every travel agent comes from an outbound, to a great extent from an outbound segment. Inbound happens almost 3-4 months, 3-4 months in a year. Then the summer leisure travel (FIT) happens in summer season. But outbound is one segment which is spread out in the entire year. And the outbound business will go away from the hands of a travel agent when there's a TCS applicable. We are already expensive by 5% GST on the outbound packages. Then when the TCS comes into play, then obviously the customer will go online and book with the foreign tour operator or a foreign travel website. So the government needs to understand this, involve the fraternity, and seek the suggestions on the complexity of our business. That's what all I have to say. And I also request all the associations, this is the time we need to come together. We have been taking a lot of impacts in the past, different impacts on our industry. But this time we have to raise our voice together and get together and raise this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry, there was a small lag. Thank you so much. I think all the points that you've raised, I wish someone is hearing. I'm sure we will reach out to the government and we'll tell them the points that you've mentioned about. They're all very valid. Thank you so much for expressing it. We have our next speaker, who's Vinita Rawat. Vinita, we would like to ask you, from a travel agent's perspective, what is your take on the entire situation? So if you can sum that up for us, please.
Good afternoon. So the government is actually hoping for to fix a non-existing revenue leakage by implementing the TCS as what we know as the tax collected at source for all overseas tour packages and remittances. First of all, TCS is not at all a new revenue for the government. It's actually an advance collection of tax of the existing revenue. The tour operator will end up paying less advance tax or have to claim more refund from income tax department, as the case may be. Now, since banks are already collecting all the PAN card details, PAN data of all the passengers at the time of overseas remittances, government can actually collect this data from banks and incorporate it in 26 AS AIR. If there is any mismatch with the return of income, department can call for scrutiny of their books and collect any underpaid taxes with interest and penalty. Now, what we can highlight and what we foresee with at the ground level, what challenges we're going to face actually with this TCS is we'll have to probably upgrade accounting software that has to be modified. And this is going to affect a lot of the small tour operators, according to me. Tour operators will have to start collecting TCS from each person or passenger who's making the payments, and they'll have to keep different kinds of data. And you'll have to file all this. Also, the TCS collected for the month is, I believe, suggested to be at the 7th of the next month. And delay in any payment or short payment of this can result in 1.5% per month interest. Now, this is all going to tax us big time. We'll also have to look at probably having to employ new staff to monitor all this kind of data, which means added expenses for the company, which is really going to burden us a lot because anyways we have the whole GST issue, we have now the TCS issue, which is going to be introduced from April. And this can also probably lead to smaller agencies, smaller institutions shutting down. This is a lot of livelihood that depends upon this, and the government should see this in a broader perspective, probably work with our organizations to make this more streamlined. Because according to me, not everybody is covered under this TCS. What about people who book online, book with agents who are abroad, or they pay upon arrival? All of these things are not factored in. As a result, I feel the TCS is a bit unfair.
Also, I would like to ask you, what is your suggestion to the government?
In the near coming future. Firstly, we've got this major issue of coronavirus right on, and it's going to be very taxing on us. In addition to this, if we are burdened with TCS, we have to face the fact that some of us would have to be cutting down on a lot of expenses because this TCS combined with the corona right now is really not good news. For having TCS and to implement TCS, we will have to probably have extra staff, extra manpower being used for this. The filing of the TCS will be an issue. So a lot of different things that I've just discussed in the last 5 minutes would probably be what I feel that TCS is being unfair to us agents.
Yes, absolutely. We do agree to that. Thank you so much.
May I now call upon our next speaker, Ajay Chabria. Ajay, I'd like to ask you, what is an ideal outcome in a situation like this?
Hi, everyone. A lot has been said by a lot of my friends here, and I'm not going to repeat much of it. I just want to, I'm not against with what they have come out with. If you want to come up with a TCS, it should really make sense. I want to understand on one hand, the government keeps harping about Make in India, Make in India. What are you doing for the Make in India travel agents, basically? And how else are you working towards it? You are encouraging people to go online, book online on all these other portals like Expedia, Booking.com, who are based actually out of UK and USA. It's your dollars and euros are available in the market in abundance in cash as much as you want. Each and every client has to just go online to an online portal, charge his card, just hold on to the money and go and pay cash up there. What about the agents who are slogging so hard here, putting in all their hard work, effort, learning a product, going to places, learn places, and how are you actually helping an agent here based in India who is employing staff, paying the high income tax, generating employment? How are you helping us? And on one hand, if you are coming up with something like TCS, why is it not taken into account the fact that a steady online portal which is operating out of various parts of the world have the same thing and they're giving it at a cheaper price, plus they're encouraging you to come and pay cash at the place there. So how is it benefiting a travel agent here? So all I expect is that I think on a priority basis, they should really look at the fact that Indian agents who are working so hard, generating employment, paying the high income tax should be taken into account. It should be understood a little better. And this kind of a tax should be rolled back for sure. It cannot apply.
Thank you, Ajay. Make in India is a very interesting point you raised. Although Make in India is for the manufacturing industry, but on similar lines for the service industry like ours, I would like to ask our speaker, Mr. Pradeep Sabu, to share his views on the fact that on one hand, government is encouraging entrepreneurships, which is due to lack of jobs, and it is focused on improving the ranking of ease of doing business, but steps like these can pull India's ranking down. What are your comments on the same?
From 2014, our minister is harping on bringing in ease of doing business. Yes, we are making progress and we have come up a few ranks. So in 2018, we were 77th in the world as ease of doing business, and in 2019 we are now 66th in the world. But this current legislation will bring us back a few steps down, because this definitely is not helping on ease of doing business for a big trade like travel trade, which otherwise employs a large chunk of 9% of the population across the country. My simple solution to the government is this. First and foremost, the government has two reasons to bring in the TCS. Reason is obviously bring in revenues to the government in terms of additional tax that they need to collect. And second is obviously the people who are not paying taxes and still traveling abroad luxuriously, to bring them under the tax net. So there are two very simple solutions on this. First solution is for the revenue. The government can charge a tax on the ticket. As it is, there are multiple tax on an international ticket. For example, there is a K3, which is the GST, and then there are airport taxes, the airline charge you, fuel surcharges. So the government can simply charge anything between 200 to 500 rupees per ticket issued for travel from India to outbound. If the numbers are correct and 2 or 3 crore people actually travel abroad, and 500 rupees every passenger is expected to pay, the government can make the revenue it requires. So 1,000, 2,000 crores, whatever the government needs to collect, they can collect it with that additional tax on the ticket. On a ticket, 400-500 rupees for a passenger traveling abroad should not matter to the actual traveler. And there is a simple automation how GST is collected by the government. Similarly, this additional tax can be collected. Now the topic of bringing in the people who are evading tax in the tax net, for people who are traveling abroad and not paying taxes, there can be another solution where the travel agents, like we feed in the GST numbers on every PNR that we do, we can simply put in the Aadhaar card number or the passport number of the actual traveler. Without it, the PNR should not be allowed to be ended, as in completed. So we can easily give all the data in terms of Aadhaar card or the passport. Passport should be the easiest for all of us. Anybody traveling abroad needs a passport. We can get a passport detail, feed in the PNR. So once that is already tabulated, the government has all the data of all the people, all the passport numbers that actually travel abroad, and will become very easy for them to tabulate and nab whoever is not paying the taxes. I think this is the simplest solution, online solution, revenue, and catch hold of the evaders. So this is the simplest solution I can suggest to the government.
Thank you. That is some eye-opener on ease of doing business initiative by the government. Now we have a question from the audience, and I would like to ask this question to Jay and Rajat. Ankur Kalra wants to know, or rather has a suggestion. Do you think if the government makes TCS as 1%, it'll still be better? As associations, you have been talking to the government. So what is your take on it?
Well, I think it's not practical, because the cost of compliance that we are looking at over here, it's not practical to have it at 1% or any percentage for that matter. We are looking at total withdrawal of TCS. The component of the amount is not important, because the efforts that we are going to take and the competition that we are facing is not to the tune of 1% or 2%. We are looking at a total competition is even regularizing GST as well as TCS. So, the cost of compliance is the main issue over here. That's what I feel.
But I would feel that making it 1% will really not get the government the data which they want. Nobody will give their PAN card details, and eventually the travel agents will have to take this cost on their own. So this is reducing your own margin by 1%. So it is a compliance issue. It is a reduction on your own income levels, and of course all the headaches which come with it, without giving the government the whole purpose of the scheme goes away.
Thank you, Jay and Rajat. We have one more suggestion from the audience. Ritin Saraiya mentions that all associations should come together and represent this case to the government. So both of you, we've been talking behind the scenes, and we kind of know that both TAI and TAFI and the other associations have been working really hard, and hence I found it important to raise this up, so that you should share it with the travel fraternity as well.
The associations are working together. There is a Federation of Associations of Travel and Hospitality which have been formed called FAITH. So the Adventure Tour Operators Association, IATO, TAI, TAFI, the Domestic Tour Operators Association, ICPB, that is the Convention Bureau Association. Everybody is working together, including the hotel associations. So we are working together, and we are representing as one voice to the government.
That's what we wanted to say.
If I could add, associations are working together, but there are times when associations make a call to the agents to be active and to participate and to give in their time. This is the time when agents also need to be active. Associations cannot do magic. We need to have people there when we call them. If we do a call that we need to have a kind of a face-off, maybe social media market tweeting and all that, we need a response. If the agents expect that the associations can do magic, I'm quite sorry, they are in the wrong place.
In fact, all of us are just like agents, like all of you. There is no difference between the way you are doing business or we are doing business. It is just that we have volunteered ourselves to just be a face for all you guys, travel agents over there, to go and represent to the government or various statutory authorities.
Thanks to both of you. There is one very crucial point raised by Mr. Mufi from Excel Software, and he says that since the time commissions were reduced from 9 to 7 and subsequently brought to 0, travel agents have never successfully unitedly fought against any such issues. Can the fight against TCS be the uniting factor amongst travel agents? I am sure that this point is something that every audience resonates with and agrees to, and we will all come together as one. We will now play a video by Rupal Shukla. Rupal is traveling at the moment and she couldn't join us. But to highlight, Rupal and a few industry colleagues have come together to start a Twitter campaign, #SaveTravelIndustry. Let's hear it from her.
Hi friends, this is Rupal from Tierra Travels. I believe by now all of us are aware of the potential impact TCS rollout could have on our industries. The next big question a lot of us have is, what can we do either independently or collectively as an industry to ensure our voices are heard and reach the right ears? So here is what we are doing. We're running an online social media campaign on Twitter, whereby we are tweeting directly our concerns to the government on the TCS. I thank all of you who have already been coming out in large numbers and tweeting your concerns. And for those of you who have not started doing so, I request you all to please come forward and start tweeting. It is important to note we are going with the hashtag #SaveTravelIndustry. Secondly, we are requesting all of you to send out, not only as business owners, but please ask your team members as well to send out postcards addressed to the government, sharing your concerns on TCS and requesting a rollback. And lastly, for those of you who have not joined the Telegram app so far, I would like to tell you that we have created a group on Telegram, which is an app just like WhatsApp, on which we have 1,500 plus agents talking actively about TCS, participating in discussions about what can be done, how can we be heard, and so I would request you to download the app today and to join the TCS group via a link which we can share with you separately after the webinar. So friends, let's hope and pray that all the efforts we are taking as an industry, including our associations who are already doing a lot about it, are heard, and the government indeed does come forward and saves the travel industry. Thank you so much.
I would now like to call upon our speaker, Mr. Sanjay Shah from Flamingo Travels. Mr. Shah, we would request you to highlight what is the impact of TCS which you are facing.
Good afternoon. Sorry, my voice was breaking, so I could not convey you. So I am sending my message through the video. There are three things which I would like to put here. The TCS law is not very clear regarding B2B transaction. So when we, as a tour operator, when I am having the tour and my sub-agent or the sub-tour operator or franchise, when I am making an invoice in his name, So I'll have to charge 5% on his behalf, and when he will be making invoice in his customer's name, so he will be taking 5% from the customers also. So if you remember, it was originally like the GST that both the sides used to take 5%. So now recently, I mean after 1 year, the government cleared that, so you can adjust the 5% of GST which the sub-agent has taken with the main agent. So now the TCS also we need some such provision that the B2B, when we are making a bill for the B2B, at that time we do not have to charge that 5%, or 5 plus 5, 10% would be charged, which is against the law. Second most important point is that there is no provision for the non-Indian citizens here. Every customer who doesn't have 5%, who doesn't have PAN card has to pay 5% TCS. Now, if I'm working for a non-Indian passport, so in that case there is no PAN number. So I'll have to take 10% TCS from him, which he cannot take the credit. So in that case, the 10% is the cost which is going to occur. Today in the morning, we got the message from Mr. Vidangsha, the Gujarat Tuffy chapter, informing us that today afternoon, the few leaders of the faith have been called by the ministry, and they have asked what is the situation, and also they have represented TCS to them. Now the point is, at Gujarat level, we are also trying to represent to the Gujarat government, not only just the TCS, but many other points also which we are facing due to the COVID-19 situation. So we would request all the members, all parts of India, to represent to their state government, and where the state government is non-BJP, we request you to meet the leader of the opposition in your state, and you meet the chief minister as well as the leader of the opposition, and try represent our case, including the TCS and the deferment of TCS for a long time to come. Thank you very much.
I would like to conclude by saying that we can only hope that the government sees that raising taxes by 10% will not raise its revenues by 10%, but actually shrink the size of the travel pie, and will end up in a counterproductive fall in its revenues instead, putting the industry participants through all this pain for nothing. On that note, let me thank all the panel speakers for being here today, and I would also like to thank the audience for participating. We will soon put this conversation online. Please share that to make our voices heard. We will also share a link to sign up for a petition to fight against TCS, and continue tweeting to our hashtag Save Travel Industry. Thank you so much for attending.